today. Thank you so much for being willing, for being courageous, for bringing yourself and your honesty. I want to let you know that all of you is welcome, of course. And with that said, how can I best support you today?
I've been following you for a while, and I've resonated with so many things that you share. And I feel like there's some stuff that I've had to deal with that maybe from your experience, your knowledge, and also your actual personal experience, it might help me to kind of feel and hear your perspective.
Yeah.
I know you've talked about a lot about like couples and betrayal, and I know that you've personally lived that, and I've lived that my whole life in all
Mm.
of my relationships.
Mm.
I'll say 9 out of 10.
Being
Only,
being betrayed.
yeah.
Mm.
So it's been extremely difficult for me to like at some point I feel like I just got really shut down. And
Mm.
so my last relationship was it's been my marriage. Um, we've been in the same path, same thing over and over and over and over. And at some point, I think that I started feeling like maybe it was me because how can this happen so many times?
Mm.
So then I started being more flexible and trying to maybe it's me, maybe if I make a bigger effort or if I do things differently, maybe things are going to change and I had to be more patient. But at the same time, I was already carrying stuff that were not going to let me work any relationship. Like my hurt from the past was already carried into this relationship. So I feel like
How
even if
so?
that
Give me an example if you don't mind.
just defensiveness,
Mm.
very shut down. I wouldn't open myself fully. I wouldn't trust fully from the beginning. Um, and I think that even if that would have not happened, I would have been already having that type of issue
Mm.
of very very doubtful or very defensive, not fully intimating like from the heart because I'm like trying to protect myself.
Mm. Protect
So
yourself from what?
from being hurt again, from
When
being
you say
betrayed.
when you say hurt again, what is the hurt that comes to your mind and to your heart when you say that? What's the original hurt?
I guess feeling that there was something wrong with me.
And who told you there was something wrong with you? Who showed you there was something wrong with you? What happened in your life that you believe something's wrong with you?
I think from what I've the work that I've done on myself and trying to look at my childhood. Um,
Mm.
when my parents divorced, um, I I was before that I was like just a regular child, being very kind and friendly and whatever. When my parents divorced, the divorce was very disruptive. My entire family split up. My
Mm.
parents wouldn't talk to each other. My sister wouldn't talk to my dad. My sister wouldn't talk to my everything. Just like it's a
How old were
blow
you
up.
when this happened?
10.
Okay, keep going.
And throughout that process, there was a lot of anger happening, a lot of fights still. And I was in the middle of all of that. And at some point, I was, my sister lashed at me. She had a lot of anger for what was happening. And I was the little one. And for whatever reason, she found it easy to just lash at me. Right. Um, Also, when my mom decided to start another relationship, then my dad put me in the middle of like, don't go live with them. That's not right. And so I started hating my stepdad. And so I was always in the middle. And I feel like at some point I started just getting so tired of
Mm.
being in the middle, being lashed at, like just receiving all of that, that I started acting like very defensive, like very rebellious, um, hating my stepdad, like just blowing up, kind of like leveling up a little bit more than everybody else so that I wouldn't
Mm.
be stepped on.
Mm.
And when that happened, then my family started treating me as like I was the difficult one. Like, she's just being difficult. You're so stubborn. Um, I don't know. You know, we cannot be happy, like my mom and my stepdad, because you're not okay with it. So then she became the victim, and I was guilty because then I was not letting her continue with her relationship. So then all of those things made me very bitter in general. So then I think I just started believing that label, that I was just difficult, that I was
Mm.
difficult, that I was not, I don't know, that there was just something wrong with me. And so I feel like now that you're asking all this, I'm kind of tying the knots, that maybe I'm
Mm.
just like trying to find a safe place where I can just be accepted.
Yeah. So it's a really, really beautiful realization. Let's bring some things to the surface. Let's make a little of the unknown known so that it becomes more tangible so that we can play with it and work with it and maybe move it through your body. But before we get there, just share with me what's happening in your body right now.
Just just holding myself.
Okay, well, this is a, I hear you. I hear you. This is a space and a place for you to not have to hold yourself because you did a lot of that growing up. You had to manage a lot of people's emotions, your mums, your dads, your stepdads, your sisters. Just let it, if you can, if you feel safe enough to, just let some of that go. Don't hold it. You've got nothing to hold here. This is part of the pain for you is you're holding, holding, holding. You're waiting for things to, go wrong. You're waiting for things to break. And you keep holding and holding and holding and you're bracing. Don't brace here. Just relax your shoulders a little bit more. There you go. There you go. Even with the palms of your hands, just have them by your side open, facing out, and just pay a little bit of attention to your belly, to your solar plexus, to your navel, and just below your navel as well, and to your ribs, and just begin to just breathe into those places and see if you can soften that a little bit. If you can more than welcome to keep your eyes closed, and if you can open them, that's okay. Whatever you feel more comfortable with, okay. And just breathe into this for a moment. You nothing to hold. You you said something earlier. It's. I want to clear something up. It is never your fault or never your responsibility for someone else cheating on you or betraying you or taking advantage of you. That's their choice, their actions, their reactivity, their desperation, their trauma, their pain. You're not responsible for that. Just like you weren't responsible for your parents divorcing, you weren't responsible for your sister's anger, you weren't responsible for your mother's and your father's manipulation, but you've taken that on. And that familiar pattern could be part of what's playing out in relationship. As a child, did you feel betrayed by your sister,
By my parents.
by your
I,
parents?
I felt like they didn't put my feelings first.
Yeah. And so, it's mature of you to say, well, hey, 9 out of the last 10 relationships, I'm experiencing betrayal. What is my role in this? Well, it's the
Mhm.
role of familiarity. Like your core wounding, your original wound with betrayal was with your parents not considering your feelings. In any intimate romantic partnership, when you're being cheated on or betrayed or lied to, your feelings aren't being considered. You're repeating that same pattern again. Now, here's a question for you. As a child, what did you do in response to feeling betrayed and not being considered? You try to fix everything, right? You try to make it all right. So what did you do? You minimized yourself and you maximized them, their needs. Correct? Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Okay. And in your relationships, when you've experienced betrayal in your adult intimate relationships, what have you done?
I feel like I overgive.
Yeah,
I'm
you've tried to make
too
them okay
too
and not you.
flexible.
Yep. Yep.
justifying or
Yep.
try to fix it myself.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is what's happening, or like psychoanalyze to solve it.
You're doing the same thing you did as a child, just in a more advanced way because you're more adult and you're more intelligent. But you're doing the same thing that you did as a child. And so you'll keep getting the same results. And so it's not about so much about what you're attracting. Yes, the betrayal is a pattern of familiarity, but it keeps occurring because it's more so how you're being with that betrayal. You keep being with it in the same way. And so all your nervous system knows, all your relational psychology knows is to continue to be the same way with that pattern. It's not breaking. The reason why it keeps coming up is for you to be different with it, to not overcompensate, to not people please, to not minimize yourself, to not make them okay, to not try and fix it, but is to have healthy boundaries, to say a healthy no when you have to say yes to yourself, to communicate differently, to love yourself through that process, to love the little girl that lives within you that was crying a moment ago, that doesn't want to hold it together anymore, that wants to express in the way she wants to express, but that hasn't for, decades, 20, 30 years, whatever it is. So that's the opportunity that you have with this. And that's where, from my perspective, a lot of this gold for you lies, where you can actually stop recreating these circumstances and stop attracting relationships like this. I'm going to pause now and I'm going to ask you two questions. What are you hearing me say? That's less important. And the second question, which you can maybe answer first or explore first with me, is what are you feeling when I say these things?
Um, what do I hear that I think is less important? It's like I understand the healthy boundaries. When to me it's not unknown, or that I don't know this already. What I feel where I'm stuck, it's that whenever I've had I've had the opportunity to get to solve or to find ourselves again in the relationship, then I don't trust either.
So you don't.
So I,
So
I,
what
I
I'm hearing,
feel like
yeah.
I feel like I overly do control as well,
Mm. How so? Give me an
because
example.
um I just get very hyper vigilant of everything. Every little reaction, every little
So what does
thing
that
that
look
could
like?
be, it's terrible.
Are you,
It's
yeah, but
terrible.
do you get angry? Do you sneak and check their phones? Like, what does it look
No,
like
I just get
tangibly?
very anxious, and I just
Anxious.
get in my head. Like, I just get in my head trying to solve what is it that I'm not seeing right now. Because
You're taking on. So what your parents did to you is they through their actions they made you responsible for their well-being, right? And they were very
Mhm,
codependent with you and probably enmeshed.
mhm,
And as a child, what I'm hearing and sensing from you is that your experience was probably very restless and overthinking and, like you said, hypervigilant to and sensitive, very sensitive to people's needs, including your
yeah,
parents, right?
yeah.
And wanting to make sure that they're okay. And you do the same thing in relationship. And so there's an anxiousness that you're holding, that where you're taking responsibility and over responsibility for everyone's feelings, for your partner's feelings, but and for the relationship and the direction of the relationship. But what's more important is that you just take responsibility for what you're feeling and what your experience is. And that's difficult to do for you because of the trauma associated with your childhood, or the intensity maybe associated with your childhood, and the pattern of making sure everyone's okay and taking over responsibility for everyone. It's a hard one to shake off. And so you're naturally going to attract people that mimic the way your mother and father, quote unquote, needed you in unhealthy ways.
Mhm. Yeah, I've been able to spot some of my mom's behavior how, somehow her emotions will override whatever was happening with me. So I was punished for saying what I was feeling,
Mm.
because not like punished, like literally punished. The thing is that whenever I will express what I was feeling or what was not making me feel good, then she will overreact and then just,
Came
be the
across.
victim.
Yeah.
And so then I felt bad. Like there was like a role inversion immediately, because then I was
You became the
not,
mature parent. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
then I had to, keep it quiet, or not, oh, I was the difficult one. I was the one making her suffer because I said this, because I did that.
Yeah,
But there
that's not
was
true. She
that,
projected that on you. Yeah.
and but that nobody ever asked me why I was acting up that way.
Yeah, because they were too self-absorbed, and you were probably attracting self-absorbed, you know, replications of your parents, both of them or one of them, even your sister as well. I think your sister played a very important role in that too. Being an older sister, which you probably looked up to her, and there were
Yeah.
challenges there as well. Let me ask you something. A few moments ago, you said, I'm trying to hold, I asked you what was happening in your body. You said, I'm trying to hold it all together, right? And, I could see that you were overthinking and trying to control and just hold and brace and keep everything, bundled up because you couldn't really just express. And then when I asked you to go into your body and just soften your breath, what happened after that?
I
How'd
felt
you
like I
feel?
could, I just could talk a little better.
Yeah, you could be more of yourself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So this is going to be part of your work, Angelica. Part of your work is learning to come back into the safety of your body, and your body's safe. Your expression is safe and your expression is welcome and needed, because a healthy man is going to want you to actually be expressive and be in your truth. Any healthy human wants to know the truth, wants to feel your truth, your authenticity, right? They don't want to be projected upon and shamed and judged. No one wants that. We want to be seen and heard and loved. But your truth, there's ways you can do that. But your work, because you experience restlessness and hypervigilance and a fast mind, and you experience being anxious, and your experience of anxiousness creates tightness in your body that pulls you into old patterns. That's the trigger for the old patterns of, let me fix this, let me not be me, let me make them okay, let me take responsibility for all the things they're feeling. It's my fault that they're feeling like this. Maybe I've done something, that they've cheated or they've betrayed me. In those and then it becomes a runaway train. Your story, you're very good at telling stories, we all are. But then you justify that and you run with that pattern of then you make them okay, but you're also shutting yourself down. That's the piece that you said at the beginning around intimacy. You're closed to intimacy because intimacy was never safe. You couldn't trust your father and your mother and your sister to actually have your best interest at heart, to actually want to listen to you. They were just reactive in their own pain, projecting their shit onto you, parentifying you. You having to be the mature one because they were losing their minds, being angry and trying to manipulate the situation and control everything and put you in the middle. And so that the most important work you can do for now is, when you're feeling that anxiousness, where do you usually feel it? Do you feel it in your throat, in your chest, in your head? Do you feel like what is swelling in your head? Or what does it feel like in your body?
In my chest.
Okay,
Definitely
great.
in
So
my chest.
yeah, when I say great, not great that you're feeling that, great that you know where you feel it. Like you have
Hmm.
very clear, it's in my chest. The moment you feel stuff in your chest, I want you to create distance. If you're in a conversation with someone, and these agreements have to come into place. It helps, like if you're in conversation with a friend or someone, that you have agreements, like you know that when you say, hey, I just need some space for a moment, that you're coming back. But for the anxious person, it's difficult to actually ask for space. For the avoidant
Hmm.
person, it's easy. They
Hmm.
want the
Hmm.
space, they crave it, they have to stay in it. For someone that's anxious, it's actually healthy for you to take some space. And so you'd ask, the moment you feel your chest tightening, you do one of two things. You can either work with it in real time while you're with that person, or you can ask for some space. And then you go somewhere quiet, wherever this is possible, of course, and you do what you did earlier, where you breathe big into the front of your body. You breathe softly, slowly into your chest. You bring softness into that part of you, not to change it, but just to actually pay more attention to it. And then you may even ask that part of you, what do you need right now? What's most important for us right now? For this part of you that lives in the chest, that represents part of your psychology, and the part of you that's in relationship, in conversation and communication and exploration with this other human. Maybe it's to speak your truth. Maybe it's to not say anything and just listen. Maybe it's to walk away from the conversation. Maybe it's whatever. Maybe it's nothing, go back into the conversation. But bring deeper contact into that part of you and then observe, how am I feeling? Is the tightness still there, or is the tightness loosened? Because if the tightness is loosened, you can be pretty sure that anxiousness, survival brain, the amygdala is less active. You're less in sympathetic nervous system, more in parasympathetic. That means you're more receptive and open to the world. You're more creative. You can think through things in a greater way in conversation. You're less likely to shut yourself down or go to those defensive survival strategies of trying to fix them and control everything and be over responsible and minimize yourself and your needs. And you're more likely to ask for what you want. But again, like every time in the past, maybe not every time, but so often, the story is every time, but so often you've asked for what you've needed and you haven't received it. And you haven't even been heard, let alone receive it. You haven't even been heard and said, oh, I really hear your need for A, B, and C, and I respect that, but I can't give that to you right now. That would be great. That would be, at least you're being acknowledged. Okay,
Yeah.
great. Nothing. It's like you don't even have space for that. So you have to make space for your voice in your relationships. The problem and the challenge is you can't make space from a constricted place. And the anxiousness brings constriction and bracing. So you've got your biggest work right now is you just going a little deeper into, how can I self-regulate? Let me go put my feet in the grass. Let me, and then proactively regulate. You don't have to tell me where you live, but do you live near nature?
Yeah. Yeah. I live in
Ocean,
Florida,
forest?
so it's
Okay,
all over
Florida,
me.
great. You near the ocean?
Yeah.
Go walk on the beach. Put your feet in the salt water. That's part of your grounding. That's part of your regulation. Do that on a regular basis. It is imperative that when the anxiousness comes and the tightness comes, that's your cue, is regulation is your biggest practice right now, because that's what will give you access to a new voice. It will give you access to a new pattern, a relational pattern that you can bring into your relationships that's not tethered to being demonized or being victimized or having to worry about every single other person than yourself.
Okay. Yeah, I don't feel like I have enough self-regulation. Like I just go up and down very easily. And that's one of my challenges, is that whenever there's been some type of conversation, resolution, um, then at the first sign of something not feeling right, then I explode. I'd send everything off, and I go to the extremes, like
Give me an example.
trying to get all the responsibility, like it's all my fault,
Mm.
to, this doesn't work. Let's, it's over in this
Yeah.
second.
So there's a disorganization there, which makes sense. I mean,
Mhm.
yeah. And again, that makes sense in terms of the volatility you experience with your parents. And my guess is, before they divorced, it wasn't all roses and rainbows either.
No, there was just, I have very, maybe one or two memories of my parents being like a couple. Other than
Mm.
that, it was my mom just dealing with everything, and just not being a couple.
Yeah, even just from an attachment perspective, it sounds like you're experiencing a little disorganization where, there's sometimes you're anxious, but sometimes you just want to shut it. I mean, the anxiousness is probably part of the core, but you want to shut it down and just move away, right? And both, like you said, both are extremes. And you cannot operate in a more moderate way if you're dysregulated. You're only going
Exactly.
to operate and express in extremes when you're dysregulated.
Yeah.
So your biggest work is moving into grounded somatic regulation. You're not in a relationship right now, are you?
Yeah,
You are.
yeah.
Did you say your
We're
husband?
we're we're taking we're taking some time
Is it
apart to,
husband?
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
to try to, figure out where we're going, but we keep following, just following the same patterns. I get very over controlling or too nervous, or
Does
just
he know this
again, just
about you?
dysregulation.
Yeah,
Dysregulation.
dysregulation. Yeah. Does he know this about you? Like, have you said to him, "Hey, I'm sorry that I'm over controlling, and here's some of the reasons why."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Have you've shared that with him?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And what has he shared back when he hears that from you?
He 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 actually he knows, and he's asking me to not be controlling so that we can move on. But
What does he think his role is in the dynamic? It's hard for you to speak for him, and he's not here. I get
yeah,
it. Which is just, and I don't expect you to be super. I'm just curious. Like, does he take a level of? Do you give him enough space to take a level of responsibility for his
I I
actions?
I think that where I'm stuck, it's that I have a set of things that I will call are my boundaries,
Mm,
and I don't feel like they're 100% taken in consideration.
mm,
So I think I'm trying to gain control over that, which is either not, doesn't work on my end, because then I think it perpetuates the pattern of, like, if I don't do this, then this is not gonna happen.
mm.
And on his side, it's not giving him the space to make his own decisions.
Yeah.
You understand
I
where I'm
do, yeah.
going?
So I'm hearing again. I want to obviously, of course, always concentrate and focus on you because that's greater in your locus of control, if you like, or empowerment. But I'm hearing that there's fear of if you don't control things or direct them, then you know your whole world falls apart. Like your parents divorce, your husband divorces you. Like it's this need for control comes from a deep fear of not trusting the other person maybe to really hold themselves and hold themselves accountable and responsible and take ownership of their behavior and action. So you're trying to do that for them,
Yeah, exactly.
which is you're just going to get more disappointment, of course. So,
And it feels
again,
heavy.
it's
It
very
feels
heavy. Yeah,
heavy. I feel
very
like
heavy.
whenever we have a moment of connection and ease and stuff, I feel deflated.
Well, you don't
So
trust it. You don't trust that it will last.
yeah, exactly. So then I feel like I ran a marathon, and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden I get like flat.
Yeah, but remember what happens when you're living from that, and that's dysregulation, right? So now you're
Yeah.
dysregulated, and you're going to behave in extreme ways because the dysregulation is going to stimulate that. That's why regulation is so important for you. And the reality is that if you don't begin to slowly, you don't have to do it fast, but slowly in micro ways, trust him to be himself and to be in his truth, you're just going to get more of this
Mm-hmm.
discontinuity and disconnection. And
Exactly.
again, like I want to remind you, intimacy has not been safe for you growing up. Intimacy has been very challenging and very strained for you growing up. It hasn't been safe.
Mm-hmm.
And you are take this is vulnerability though. Like vulnerability is feeling unsafe and taking a risk and saying, I'm going to trust you because I didn't trust my parents to hold me. I didn't trust my sister to love me. I didn't trust the people around me to actually listen to me. I'm going to trust you to do that. And you may risk getting hurt. He may not be able to do that. That's the risk. He may not be able to hold you, but you're also making massive change in your life by doing so. And you're saying no to that pattern of, because, well, let me ask you this. How has control served you so far? Being
No,
responsible for everything.
no, it doesn't
Yeah.
work.
I don't think you've got anything to lose.
And
And
I don't want to do it.
I
Like
know you do.
when I envision where, like, how I want to feel and how I want to live, it's definitely not there. I don't want to have that responsibility
Yeah.
anyways.
But it lives in your ego. It lives in our, we
Mm,
all of us seek power and control. All of us live from fear. Those are not the only places that we live from, but the personality and the ego, same, is very
mm-hmm,
strong. So when you say, I don't want to live in control, there's truth to that. The higher, more mature relational aspects of yourself are absolutely telling that truth. But you also don't believe, like, you also want to be in control and you're addicted to control.
Mm-hmm.
You are addicted to your control. You're addicted to making other people feel better. You're addicted to the stories that you tell yourself. You're addicted to and we all have our version of that.
Mm-hmm.
And until you actually own that addiction, like really, really come face to face with it, to the parts of you that you've been running from, it will continue to play out. And secondly, until you meet these parts with non-judgment and compassion and not hate yourself for them, they'll keep playing out. But again, like I think a really important practice for you is, how often can I move into regulation? How often can I be in my body? And then practice that the internal dialogue of kindness. Because my guess is as well, like you'll probably have a very strong inner self critic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
And
noticed that
yeah,
as of late too, that I'm
harsh
very
on yourself.
harsh on myself, on others.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and that's a learned behavior. And so when you get into regulation, you can start to have internal conversations with those parts of yourself that you're really hard with, and saying, because that's a protector part. Like if we look
Mm-hmm.
at inner child and internal family systems and inner child work, it's a
Mm-hmm.
protector part. That inner critic is a way to activate a part of you that creates distance and space in intimacy so that you don't risk getting hurt,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because when
Mm-hmm.
that inner critic is up, it brings attention to something being wrong, quote unquote wrong. And so, well, then you can fix that.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the ways you fix it is by either, again, being hypervigilant, being too controlling, but either way, or saying, I don't want this anymore. But either way, it pushes intimacy away. So you're like, there's a part of you that's like, I'm safe because I'm by myself. Yet your conscious parts crave to be seen and heard and loved because that's human and that's
Exactly.
you. And you didn't experience that. So you crave that as well. So
Mm-hmm.
you won't be able to wrestle with these parts of you. And of course, ongoing work is very much needed here, but you won't be able to wrestle with these parts of you or be with these parts of you until you come from a more regulated place. That's really what the beginning stages of any trauma work
Mm-hmm.
is, being in practice and learning how to regulate yourself. But importantly, loving yourself enough, believing you're worthy enough and of value enough to actually regulate yourself. So you're going to be pushing up against these parts of you that don't value yourself. You don't believe in yourself. You don't love yourself because you were shown that you're not worthy. You're not worthy of being listened to. You're not worthy of being prioritized. You were used growing up as a tool for your parents' uh, vengeance, if you like, or their projections and their anger. Their unresolved, unconscious stuff. So regulation is going to be really, really important for you.
The last few things that you said describe exactly what I feel right now.
Yeah.
Just being stuck on wanting something, but then not letting go of the control, and then I feel like that, just stuck there, like
I would like
frozen.
you, yeah, if I were to give you one more practice, I don't want to overload you with practices, but if I was to give you one more practice, I would say every evening before you go to sleep, lay down or sit and just breathe slowly, really softly and slowly into your body, and just let your body just soften, right, with the breath. And then bring to your attention that 10-year-old girl, that little girl. And it may even be a younger age, but you can start with 10 and see. Just start getting into deeper communion and communication with her. Just start being into deeper contact with her. It's important that she feels seen, and ask her, like, what does she need? She may say, I just need to be heard. I need to be seen. I need to be loved. I'm scared. You get to, this is called part of, you're developing deeper contact with her, but it's part of a reparenting process where you, as you are now, Angelica, as a relational, mature adult, the one that can access that, is stepping in to guide her, to guide that part of your internal psychology that feels very fractured and scared, and giving that part of you more reprieve, and that she's okay because she's the one. You're regressing in conflict. We're in conflict, you're regressing to 7 years old, 10 years old, 12, 15 years old when you were rebelling, like all of that. And those aren't the parts of you that you want necessarily to come in. They're being hypervigilant or hyperprotective in conflict. You want this relational, mature adult here to come in conflict. But we regress immediately the moment our nervous systems recognize something that's happening that is similar to the conflict or the pain that we experienced in the past. So by you being in deeper communion with her and getting to know her and her needs, you get to fulfill those needs. She starts to not need to be so reactive. This part of your psyche doesn't need to come online in conflict so much. In other words, you can stay more regulated for a longer period of time, which then it less stimulates their dysregulation, the people that you're in conflict or challenge with.
Mm,
And that's really deep healing relational work, especially if they're aware of that and they're committed to that practice as well. But even if just one of you are, that makes a massive difference.
mm. Is there any, besides that exercise at night and going to nature, is there anything that you will recommend that I just research, or just start with those two?
Let me ask you this question. When you ask that question, right, where is it coming from within you? Like, is it coming from, bear with me here, that question that you ask, the energy behind that, if you really tap into that, is it coming from a place of genuine curiosity? Is it coming from a place of, I need to do more to fix myself?
Yeah, probably there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I'm like, okay, let's solve this. Let's do
no.
it.
So
Yeah.
the answer to your question
Yeah.
is stay with exactly what I've just shared. No
Okay.
more.
Okay.
You don't need to right now. Of course, there'll be a point at some point where there's a lot more deeper work that you do,
Yeah.
and that's necessary. But right now, that's enough. You're enough. That's enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Thank you. Thank you for being so honest and really being real. Appreciate you. How do you feel now?
A lot more relaxed.
Mm.
I had my hands like this, and then now I'm
Mm.
like
Yeah.
fully relaxed. I understand that, it's just a everyday
Yeah.
thing, everyday work.
Yeah.
Um, I also, there's a whole bunch of stuff that you're saying that I might be able to see every now and then, but on the daily, I just fall back in the same
Yeah.
pattern.
Yeah.
And
That's
that
why
is,
regulation is so important. Yeah.
yeah, I feel like I haven't been probably as organized or habitual with the
Mm.
stuff. Like I see it, and then it just, the daily stuff, life gets in
Mm.
the way, and I fall back on the same stuff. And I see the need also in other aspects of my life. Like, I have a child, she's 10,
Mm.
and she's been, my biggest motivation to do all this too.
Yeah.
Because I can see, because from her, I know that there's no manipulation or anything.
Mm.
So she's like a really effective mirror. So I can see how I'm like
Yeah.
sometimes too strict, or like too much, or like try to get everything like under control, or how I react to, too sudden. And then I have to like, oh, okay, I'm sorry, I know that maybe I overreacted. So I can see myself in my interaction with her, that is, that it's me, that I need, that is more my
Mm.
dysregulation, that it's running those ups and downs.
Yeah. So, two things I want to share and I want to leave you with. The first is that you are a generational pattern breaker. You are not your parents, you're not your mother, you're not your father. The fact that you can go to your daughter and say, I'm sorry, I overreacted, is probably something that your parents just couldn't do. Not in a meaningful way. Like, I really feel your sincerity when you say that, and your attentiveness to want to be a better parent and a better guardian and leader for your child. So I really honor you there. That's number one. Number two, our children at their ages will reflect back to us, what feels unresolved within us. So this is probably coming up for you now in this way, in the way that it's coming up, because when your parents divorced, you were 10, she's 10. And so this is, and you're right, they're beautiful mirrors. All of our world is a mirror for us. Um, but there's a great opportunity here for you to go even deeper. So I really encourage you to keep walking this path and walking it differently to how you've walked it in the past. And it's not to save your marriage or stay in the relationship, but it's to be the greatest version of you that you can be. And for all those around you that you love, including your husband, of course, and your child, but more importantly, you and all the versions of you that live in you.
Yeah, I can tell that, for sure, my biggest fear was that she will have to go through what I went through. And so that drove a lot of my decisions and the control and the effort, and just I was panicked that she will have to go through the same stuff.
Mm, mm.
So I recently kind of like got like a download where I understood that the only thing that I can actually control is it's being there for her emotionally, which what
Mm.
that's what I didn't have.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's something that I can control, which is being there for her,
yeah,
and being the person that I would have need to have by my side when all that
yeah.
happened.
Yes. So do that for the little girl that lives inside of you as well. And again, the best way you can do that is by being regulated. You'll have more emotional range and emotional maturity and expression by being more regulated. You'll be less reactive and more responsive. You're doing great. You really
Thank
are.
you.
I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much.
I'm
Bless
so
you.
happy that this came out. Like I
Yeah.
did, I never get selected for anything. Like no raffles, no nothing. And I literally just filled it out just to see what happened. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that it actually worked.
Of course. I'm very happy that you're here. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, yeah. Bless you. And thank you again for sharing your truth and just being so open. And there's definitely a path forward for you that has been very different to what you've experienced in the past. And you've got to keep holding on to that, not in false hope, but in intelligent hope through applied and aligned action and through self compassion and deeper kindness to yourself.
Thank you.
Appreciate you very